describing his opponents as vermin. That's a horrifying clip. That's a fascist clip. You know, oftentimes fascism is perceived as a expansionist, warlike, idea from the 1930s, from Hitler's Germany. But Trump is this kind of isolationist fascist in terms of his rhetoric over the weekend. He goes to give a Veterans Day speech and then talks about rooting out vermin from the left. That is shocking, and it's not.
It just makes my head hurt trying to even understand what this guy is saying. You try to make all of these reaches to try to say Trump is Hitler. You do realize Hitler was on meth. He was on all these drugs. I mean, he was out of his mind. He was under poisoning from the First World War. He had syphilis in his brain, and this guy was pretty jacked up. And this whole thing that Trump is this guy and that he killed millions of Jews and this and that, you can't make that comparison.
I mean, let's deal with Hitler, okay?
Okay.
Trump's affinity for Hitler was always covered under an umbrella of his stupidity, right? People like General Kelly were like, oh, you must not get it. You must not mean Hitler's army, right? I mean...
He would talk about the brilliance of Hitler's generals.
Correct.
General Kelly, yes.
Correct. And you've got some reporting about Merkel. I want you to explain that. I'm going to read that. But tell me how Trump sees Hitler.
Well, Trump clearly has this infatuation with strong leaders. He thinks that's good. They must be brilliant. They must be smart. This is why he actually was praising Hezbollah recently for being smart. But he talks about...
Really smart is what he said about Hezbollah.
His praise for Kim Jong-un, for Putin, for Viktor Orban of Hungary. I will get to the Hitler, this amazing interaction that he had with, that he recounted that he had with Angela Merkel. I mean, he wants to be seen as a big, strong leader. He wants to emulate these people. I'm not saying that Donald Trump is a Nazi. But there is this infatuation that he has, and he echoes his language. I mean, that's when you were talking, when he talks about rooting out the vermin. Even the phrase, the enemy of the people, which he used to describe the press, is something that is drawn from Nazi Germany. It's also drawn from Stalin. This is a dictator's phrase, and it's one that he eagerly embraced. Does he know all the history of it? I don't know.
What the left does is they make this comparison because it makes it much easier for people to just denounce him without actually explaining certain things, like the Trump actually with during his presidency, the Abraham Accords were put forth. I mean, he was working with his administration to try to get peace in the Middle East, talk with the leader of North Korea, and then always had this strategy to talk to other world leaders, no matter how bad they are, Putin, Xi Jinping. It doesn't matter. You can be diplomatic without demonizing everybody. Of course, you want to keep your enemies closer, and that was what Trump was doing. He was working in such a way that was, frankly, he should have gotten a Nobel Peace Prize for it. And being compared to Hitler doesn't make any sense.
Me just of what we've seen of this forum shopping to find staffers and lawyers, frankly, who agree with what Trump wants to do. And there was some element that wasn't that way in the first term, but feels like it could be in the second. I mean, part of this, we recently heard Trump, I mean, just over the last couple of days, indict his political opponent. I say he threatened he was going to indict his political opponents. He said he wanted to root out the vermin of the left. That's literally the term he used. He has extreme positions on a range of issues, of course. But what do you make of these kind of increasing threats? It feels a little like the authoritarian wiles of him are increasing, but what do you make of it?
It's a central theme of my book, which is, and this is also something that is different. There is a coherent idea now behind Trump's reelection campaign. I don't know if there was always a coherent idea besides I'm the best, I'm the greatest, I'm going to build the wall, all that stuff. Now it is retribution. And that quote that you just cited about vermin, we're gonna get the vermin. I mean, that is Nazi imagery. Now, I'm not saying that Donald Trump is a Nazi, but that is the imagery
language used by.
And if you look at more and more of these videos on CNN, particularly or MSNBC, it's just Trump Derangement Syndrome. It's very emotional. It's without facts or any concrete evidence. There's just weaving things together saying, well, you know, he's not necessarily Hitler, but you could see this. And so they're basically calling him Hitler without saying it directly. Of course, some people will call him Hitler, but you can kind of see, I know you guys aren't stupid. You can see that they're trying to say the thing and beat around the bush in order to feed this propaganda to its listeners and to its watchers. It's something I think it's important for people to realize the issue with this kind of narrative.
Each and every one of us. Trump isn't hiding his authoritarian ambitions for a second term, from punishing his political opponents to locking up immigrants in camps to deploying the military, all while echoing the hateful rhetoric of Adolf Hitler. We know exactly what we can expect if he retakes the White House in 2024. But hey, what was it about Joe Biden's age?
We're just going full on Hitler, talking about vermin. Again, he's lifting straight from the 1930s, straight from fascist then. I know there are a lot of professors that don't want to go there. They say, oh, well, wait, maybe it's not fascism yet. But you see January 6th, you see Donald Trump praising the people that stormed the Capitol, tried to overthrow American democracy, and then use the same words that Nazis in Germany used in the 30s and Mussolini used in Italy. Wait, what do you want to call it? Like, you know, afternoon tea? Like, if it sounds like Nazism, if it walks like Nazism, if he makes threats the way he's making threats, I'm not exactly sure what you call it if you don't call it fascism.
Is intent to turn the government into a weapon of revenge and retribution. The plans, the detailed plans for massive deportations and
his supporters see that he turns on people who are in his corner. If you dare to go against him even this much, he goes bananas on you.
They don't understand that that's a dictatorship. They don't see the signs of fascism.
And they don't see that they will be the next victims of this vitriol.
And the reality is this: Donald Trump is running for president for two reasons: to stay out of jail and to get revenge on his enemies. And when he speaks, we should listen. And frankly, it's scary. He's already said he's going to come after people like General John Kelly, my former boss, Chairman Mark Milley, people who dare to stand against him, Mike Pence. Journalists.
I
think there's reason for all of us to be concerned.
What about us?
But there's a really interesting...
Try it. Go ahead, try it. We have this show every day, okay, Donald?
And you don't have to support Trump. You can support another Republican candidate. And, of course, there's things that Trump messed up on, I think. But I would much rather take Trump than Joe Biden or somebody that's going to totally go listen to people that have these kinds of ideas on the left, because it's complete dissonance of the mind and logic, and it's not something I think that it's good for the country. It's anti-U.S. It's anti basically anything that resembles any sort of national pride or ability to protect one's borders or have strong family values. This is really what people are up against here. And these kinds of strong narratives coming from the left is very hurtful for society and for people that want to be free thinkers and independent thinkers and people that want to be left alone, honestly. And I appreciate you watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and there are more videos to come.